Hi, my name's Phil Barker. I'm the president of the Henry's Lake Foundation. When you look over the history, it's our 30-year anniversary this year. Been doing these projects now. We've raised several $million worth of project monies. The most expensive, of course, was the culvert work there on Highway 87 that you see for the bridge over Targhee and the bridge over Howard. These projects predominantly have been focused on improvement of the riparian habitat for the Yellowstone cutthroat trout. But we've put a lot of effort into making sure that the fish passage of the fish moving up Duck Creek and Targhee and Howard and these other key tributaries of the lake is improved, it's maintained, there's the right pebble counts and things like this for spawning fish. That includes fencing, planting willows, culverts. So the landowners have been just a tremendous partner for us. They've been always cooperative and willing. Debbie Empey and the Salisburys and Tom and Susie Cole and these various key people that allow us to do what we do on their property to make sure that this fish passage, that these riparian habitats are just absolutely perfect. And we always work with them to identify future opportunities.
Hi, I'm Damon Keene. I'm a regional fisheries biologist with the Idaho Fish and Game stationed out of Lewiston, Idaho. This is a modular fish screen that was put in place on a lateral of Duck Creek. This is a major tributary to Henry's Lake and a major spawning tributary and a major rearing tributary for the Yellowstone cutthroat. This modular fish screen is on an irrigation diversion. The diversion takes water out of Duck Creek. Down there's irrigation diversion. They come down the irrigation diversion and then they hit this perforated plate fish screen, and instead of go on down the irrigation diversion where they would be entrained and would eventually die, they're passed through a bypass pipe at this far end, and that bypass pipe then relays the fish back to Duck Creek proper, prevents all that mortality. This will probably last about 20 years or so. And like I say, a roundabout figure, it's about a $20,000 project. Henry's Lake Foundation normally tries to contribute $4,000 or $5,000 per project. We have a total of a little over 10, I think there's 11 fish screens on Henry's Lake, and a lot of them were old. The Henry's Lake Foundation has agreed to co-fund several of those, and as a matter of fact, most of them, and helps on the natural production of fish. We're always trying to enhance natural production of the Yellowstone cutthroat, our native species in Henry's Lake, and this is a great project to assist in that. Hard to barely see, it's flowing through heavy. This screen is about 25 years old. This screen is setting perpendicular to the flow of the irrigation diversion, and so the fish come up against the screen and on high flows may be impinged against the screen. The new structure will be angled with perforated plate, and so the fish will come down the irrigation diversion and will go along the screen but not to be impinged directly against the screen, and then flow out the bypass pipe, which will go and then take them back to Duck Creek proper. So this screen is in dire need of replacement, and this is one of 5 screens that will be replaced this August. Big set of project with 5 screens. We're looking at about a $100,000 project total, and the Henry's Lake Foundation committed to approximately $20,000 of that. So. Yeah,
the red's right there.
Yeah, that's a pretty obvious red there. Again, we're on Duck Creek, and Phil Barker and I just walked up here, and we're at the side of a cutthroat red, and we just saw a couple fish here making a red, and the fish have moved off, and the water's a little running a little big and a little off-colored, so it's difficult to see. But this is the side of a red or a fish nest, and so 2 cutthroaters are spawning here, and they're going to the female's going to lay her eggs, and perfect spawning habitat on the lower end here of Duck Creek. And we actually have seen quite a few fish spawning up this tributary in the past couple of years, which is a good sign for the future of natural production on Henry's Lake. And this is just below another project that the Henry's Lake Foundation helped sponsor, which was a cattle exclusion riparian fence. that protects again the riparian area and facilitates the spawning habitat and creates new spawning habitat like we just saw these fish here. So in the future we hope to see additional spawning and increased natural reproduction, natural recruitment to the Henry's Lake proper. We had a lot of Duck Creek and Targhee Creek has been grazed and continue to be grazed. Landowners cooperating by allowing us, the Idaho Fish and Game and other partners, Henry's Lake Foundation, to go in, put cattle exclusion fences along the tributaries, just along a small border of the fences, allows the vegetation to grow. You don't see as much sediment into the tributaries from the sloughing of the banks where the cattle wear down the banks. Sediment reduction is a big factor in the success of these nests or redds. And if sediment is displaced and covers those eggs at this stage, then they're smothered. Now here we're at O'Neill Crossing, a crossing at Duck Creek. There were two dilapidated culverts here. This is quite an old project, but it's certainly serving its purpose. There were a couple culverts here that served as fish barriers, and those were removed, and a bridge was put in place where actually farm vehicles could cross over, and that was funded again with Henry's Lake Foundation, and in memory of John O'Neill, who was a member with the Henry's Lake Foundation for many years. And this was just a terrific project, removing that fish passage barrier and replacing it with a bridge. Now this is the Targhee Bridge, and this was a project undertaken by numerous government agencies and non-government agencies, including Henry's Lake Foundation and Henry's Fork Foundation. And there were two culverts that were serving as a fish barrier to fish migration, Yellowstone cutthroat migration, and it was a definite barrier. Fish could be seen. You could come during the spawning time. During June, this period of time, you'd see adult fish trying to ascend the culvert, and they'd jump up like you see salmon jumping, and try to get into the culvert and try to pass through, and were unable to do so. And so this project was a huge project, about a $1.5 million project, and funds were acquired through the agencies I mentioned, including the Henry's Lake Foundation, to put in a bridge. There's about 4 or 5 miles of terrific spawning habitat above this bridge, and Targhee Creek is one of our most important spawning tributaries on Henry's Lake. This is our largest tributary to Henry's Lake, and we've seen actually some of our best natural production coming out of Targhee Creek. So creating additional habitat for natural production is especially beneficial on Targhee Creek. It's a roadless area, basically about a mile above this bridge. It's a roadless area and just pristine habitat. This is below the ladder on Howard Creek, and behind us shows some of the riparian habitat protected by the riparian cattle exclusion fencing that the Idaho Fish and Game maintained, that the Henry's Lake Foundation funded. We have a data logger that actually records the water temperature of Howard Creek. We also have loggers on Duck Creek and Targhee Creek. And the Henry's Lake Foundation funded these in their entirety, and it gives us a good perspective of temperature from year to year, the variation in temperature, and how that relates to survival of Yellowstone cutthroat and spawning potential. I've left my position here. I was here about 10.5 years, and certainly enjoyed the time here. Henry's Lake is an outstanding fisheries, one of the most important fisheries for the Idaho Fish and Game, and a great Yellowstone cutthroat fishery, a great brook trout fishery, and a great a hybrid fishery. Certainly enjoyed my time here cooperating with the Henry's Lake Foundation. It's been an outstanding job. I can't think of a better job. And I'm real excited to see our new fisheries biologist, Jessica Buell, start. She's going to be a great fit for the foundation, great fit for the resource, and a great fit for the Idaho Fish and Game. I foresee good things to come in the future, and I'm excited to see her take on this new challenge.
My name is Jessica Velo. I'm a regional fisheries biologist in the Upper Snake region, and I'm stationed here at Henry's Lake. Part of my job is running the hatchery facility here at Henry's Lake, where we collect eggs from Yellowstone cutthroat, and we rear them and then actually ship them off to Mackay. The goal every year is 1.2 million for Yellowstone cutthroat and then 200,000 hybrids. And then there's also sterile brook trout that are also stocked, and that's usually around 200,000 as well. Another part of my position is lake manager, so we're looking at gill netting the lakes and creel surveys and other things that come up on the lake. And then I also do habitat projects for the Upper Snake region, which include the projects along Henry's Lake, trying to assess what we have for habitat, what's out there, what looks like good spawning grounds for fish, or what would be good rearing habitat, and do we have barriers? And I know Damon has addressed a lot of those issues with Henry's Lake Foundation in the last several years.
I'm Lee Mabey. I'm a forest fisheries biologist for the Caribou-Targhee National Forest, and we're standing next to Duck Creek today. This is the lower culvert of 4 culverts that we're replacing on this stream. The upper one was done 2 years ago when we have a bridge just like the one behind me just last year, so we did 2 of these last year. Basically what we're doing is taking a stream that used to go through a 4-foot pipe, and we're putting a 22-foot free span bridge across it. And what that allows the fish to do is to move up through these systems without getting barricaded off. A lot of these other culverts had passage problems. The velocities were too high. This allows them to swim unimpeded up these streams to spawn and to carry out their life history. But there's also a wild component to this lake, and what we wanted to do was help that wild component of fish still persist in the Henry's Lake, and the genetic work that Idaho Fish and Game has done has shown that these fish in Duck Creek are the purest of any of the tributary fish. So this was an important stream to do the work on. And we're finishing up with our opportunity here on Duck Creek this year. There's one more culvert that we're going to do a bypass, actually going to construct a new piece of road around it and totally remove and rehab the stream, remove the culvert and rehab the stream. And it's been a great place to work, and great support from Fish and Game and the Henry's Lake Foundation and all the other groups that work up here. We definitely could not do this work without everybody's help, and the landowners too. I mean, you know, good things don't happen fast, and this bypass will be 3 years in the making, but it will happen this summer. So next year, the worst of the offenders of the culverts will be gone. It's been great working up here, and I just love this country. In fact, I'm up here this weekend doing a little fishing myself. So.
The project board that you've seen previously that we've usually set up at the annual events is annotated with various things that we're doing around the lake and things like this. And the video now gives us the opportunity to do things, obviously, that gives a more easily maintained thing, a lot more transportable, and certainly something that allows us to do something on the website as well, which, of course, building a web presence is important to moving forward with driving membership for the foundation. So you've seen in this video a fairly detailed introduction by Damon Keene and various things that we're doing for the riparian habitat on the streams. That started at Duck Creek and moved on over to the culverts at Targhee, and you saw the segment there with Jessica at the fish trap, and then we went over to Howard Creek and you saw the fish ladder and the data loggers and things like this. The video itself, we look to expect to maintain and enhance this over time and add new segments that allow us to just simply amend it as we move forward. But I certainly want to thank my daughter Christina. You'll see a couple of fish pictures for her in this video. We were very fortunate yesterday out in the driving wind and rain for her to catch a beautiful hybrid of 7.4 and a beautiful brook of 3.6, and she really showed her mettle here after growing up and being on this lake every summer for a number of years, and everything taken to heart that she's learned here. And I think she also had a pretty good fishing guide too. So when you look at the different tributaries and the efforts that we've put in, we've really kind of reached, I think, a milestone with the screens. We've now used the modular metal screens that you've seen now in this video, and we're putting 4 more of them in this summer. That will essentially complete the majority of all of the fish screens in this fishery. It's then to kind of move past that and then focus on a few different areas. And the mission, of course, of the foundation is to protect and enhance the fishery of Henry's Lake.